So in this video, I'm going to talk about a few things, dualism to relativism, and a journal article that I was looking at as well that feeds into that sort of, and then just a couple of other things that I've been discussing or thinking over that's on my mind that I wanted to talk about. So first of all, I was looking through the Swade's presentation on dualism to relativism, and there's a really interesting thing that I picked out, or that I can 100% relate to, and that is that there's a phenomenon with it that they find between a dualistic kind of coach to a relativistic, however you say it, relativism coach, and or a person obviously, and it showed that but specifically to coaching, that you'll have a level 1 or an inexperienced coach, and they will be very confident in what they're coaching and how they're coaching it, and then they move over to the other end of the spectrum and they look at maybe an expert coach or an experienced coach, whatever level, and they actually question whether what they're doing is right, and they even go all the way down to whether they can even coach. I've felt this for a while now, and I think especially towards the tail end of my degree when I was doing that, is not that I don't know what I'm doing, is that I know that there's so much attached to it and there's so many different ways of doing it, and which links into what we're doing for the portfolio. What I'm doing now is there's so many other ways to do it. There's no correct way, but there's always a better way. So we're constantly searching for that better way, but we can it feels like a weight sometimes, because you can put too much pressure on yourself. There's nothing bad with thinking about all these things and thinking that you can't do it can be a bit negative, but it's just that you're thinking of so many other things, whereas that other coach is just almost got the tunnel vision, and it's just a straight line to them, so it's easy. But for us, we're drawing upon all these different things, research, talking to other lecturers, other coaches, and getting so many different points of view and being shown so many different ways to do it. So an example is that I'm signed up to Coach's Voice, which is a CPD for football, and I'm signed up to them, so I'm looking at their philosophies, their practice sessions and things like that, just to gain like more drills and more games that I can put into my sessions. But then on the other hand, I could search on Google for practice sessions, and I could find an unlimited amount. I mean, I can find Klopp's sessions, Ancelotti's, Jose Mourinho's sessions. I can download all them, I can look at them, and there's just all these different things. There's too much. You can't focus on it all. You have to then focus on something. But it just further proves to me that even in football, for example, there's so many different ways and to coach it, to play it, that you'll never just have one set way. There's no perfect example. We're just constantly being proved wrong, or that there's other ways to play the game, and you will never get to the bottom of it. But I think that's what's an incredible thing as well, that it's your own twist on it. You know, are you a coach that's dead down the line and does control the players, or are you kind of a free coach and you let them explore? None of them are absolutely wrong, but it just shows you how many different ways there are. So now having this approach now, where I feel to myself I'm getting onto that relativistic side of the spectrum and pushing myself in there, it is uncomfortable, but it's only going to make me better, because I'm always open to things. Things are always changing. I'm not looking to prove that my way's right. I'm just looking to be open and always learning. So I'm always bringing things in. I may have my set beliefs, but they can be smashed, they can be torn apart because somebody said something. I think that's brilliant. So just always changing. There's always something new out there, or a new perspective, and it can weigh you down a bit. As I said, sometimes you're just thinking, oh, there's all these things, am I actually doing it right? But I do try and step back, take a breath, and I go, no, it's good you're thinking about all these things, and then I try and keep it simple from then. But I am glad to to be more open with things now, and every lecture is doing that for me. Every presentation that's happening in this course is allowing me to do that. So I read a journal article, and some of the points actually hit home, and there were things that we've been talking about in the lectures. And the journal article looked at the perceptions of what elite cricket coaches, looked at skills courses like our level 1s and level 2s. And there was 2 coaches that they interviewed, and they both said along the lines is that you're showed skills, but you're not shown how to coach those skills. So almost you're being shown as sort of like a player. You're being analysed, and then you're showing, well, you need to be doing this. And then it's like they're asking the question, well, how do we coach that? But that is entirely missing from that. And another coach hit on the sort of thing that they are shown an example of an elite player, or 2 elite players, an elite bowler, an elite batsman, and they're saying, well, this is how he does it, and this is how he does it. And then they're shown that, and then again, it's not related to how to coach that, and also to the effect of, is that the only way that it can be done? Where, as we look at sport, it's a way of expressing yourself, and there's many different ways. I play golf myself. There are millions of different swings. No 2 swings are the same, even if they've been coached by the same coach. All of our bodies are different. You know, the size of your limbs, the length of them, completely change what the golf swing does. And the batting swing is similar as well. And then bowling, I've seen many different bowling. I haven't played too many cricket games, but I was part of the team in high school, and you would see a lot of different bowls as well, not just the standard one. So there's a lot of different ways. And in fact, when I was out and did a CPD course when I was a teacher in Dubai, a PE teacher, we met with some of the coaches from Australia. They were from a particular academy, but I can't remember which one it is right now. And they were saying, well, we've actually taken away the coaching thing, saying this is how you do it. We let them play a few games and figure it out for themselves, because that one setup or one swing might do one thing. It might be great, might hit it really far, and then there might be one swing that hits it very short, and then there's one with endless opportunities, different swings that do different things, and different bowling techniques as well, do different things to the ball. So with these elite coaches at that level, they didn't find it useful to have these. And yet when we look at the level 1, or how it was, now they've changed it in the FA, and there'd be particular techniques shown, or this is how you do it. And going back to what I said before about, for those coaches that are just starting out, it's great. It's almost like a tunnel. It's very straight line, and then they understand how to implement it. But then progressing on, it actually becomes a bit pointless, because there's countless ways and different ways to do that. And that's what I've tried to do myself as well with football and swimming, is ask them open questions and find out for them how many different ways can you get to the other side of the pool? How many different ways can we travel up and down the pitch? You know, there's countless ways, and there's always, as I said, there's always a better way, but nothing's absolutely wrong. And you know, we're constantly searching for these different things to get better. Like Tiger Woods' swing, he was looking for the inches. He was the best golfer in the world, and then he was still looking to make a difference as well. And it's just these millimeters, these different things that can make the difference. So why would we only teach one way when there's so many other facets to it? So I started doing my own one-to-one football sessions, and I've really enjoyed it. I've got 2 clients right now that I coach, and the good thing about it is that I work for myself, so I put together session plans and things that I want to do and things that I think could improve them. But one thing that I try to do as well is, because it's one-to-one, I try and emphasize the fact that I'm actually really here for you. So if there's anything that you ever want to focus on or anything like that, then it's no problem. You can tell me, you can text me, whatever, you can tell me on the day, it doesn't matter. But one thing I do to try and encourage that is what I've been doing. So firstly, first session, I would do a testing session and see how they dribble, how they pass, how they move, all that stuff, you know. And then from then on, I'll put together a plan and think about what they want to go on. But at some point in the session, we do a 10-minute warm-up. Then we focus on two things. So whatever I thought was weak. So for example, one client, it was working on turns, different ways to turn, and working on their weak foot, so using their left foot a little bit more. So we worked on those things, and then I include something which is called open practice. So it might have a name for it out there. I'll look into some research, but I just called it open practice, where I'll go, right, so-and-so, we've got 15 minutes now. What do you really want to work on? Do you want to work on something that you've seen in practice, in football practice? Something that we've done today, maybe you want to go over it again? Or is there something that you wanted to focus on when you came here today? And it's very open. It can be uncomfortable for them. They're only about 12, and I think they're 12 and 14. But I'm giving them this, whereas they might not be used to a coach that actually does that. But I'm like, this is one-to-one session. It's as much time with the ball for you to work on this and be with a coach and ask them questions. So I thought I would give them this, even if the 15 minutes ended up being a discussion. It's entirely athlete-led, so athlete-centered. And I did it for a few sessions, and with the two of them, usually I'd say, what do you want to focus on now? And they'd say shooting. They are more of attacking players, so they enjoy shooting. And then after a few sessions, I thought, is it actually worth keeping this in? Because they're just saying this all the time, and I could just put shooting instead and just know that they want to focus on that. But I kept it in, and then the other week when I did a session, I asked him, what would you like to focus on today? And I'd actually been to his football match prior as well, so I got to see him what he was like in a team game. I said, what would you like to focus on today? And he goes, I'd like to do free kicks, actually. I was like, oh, right, okay. I was like, that's something different. I was like, he goes, yeah, because we were in a match and I remember it. And he goes, and I missed the free kick. It wasn't too bad, and you know, it's tough to do, but if I hadn't have put that open practice there or asked him, I would never have known that he actually wanted to focus on that. Because even from me, I watched the match. I didn't think it was anything, but to him, it was a big deal that he'd actually missed this free kick. And if I hadn't have put that in the session, I would never have known. So we got to work on free kicks. I said, well, we'll reduce it to 10 minutes because it's only a dead ball situation. So we'll focus on this for now, and then we'll do free kicks at the end. So it was great for me to know what he was focusing on. It was good for him because he worked on what maybe was eating away at him or what he wanted to work on. And we worked on his free kick. And it was that scenario there that's gone, no, I think this is a really good thing. I should definitely keep this section open where it's 10, 15 minutes and they can focus, they can tell me, and I'm like, what do you want to work on? Even if we have a few teething problems in the first few weeks, just that example there solidified that for those scenarios there, maybe they've had a bad game the week before or the day before, that they can go, I'd really like to focus on this. So they're starting to get that ownership there and understand that I'm there for them and that it's not always me leading it. It was something that I thought was really good, and I'm glad that I kept it in my session. So I'm always learning. So when I was out in the UAE as a PE teacher, I got to connect with a lot of other teachers, and I got to see whether teaching was actually for me. And when I was talking to more and more of them, they were saying, well, you know, there's a lot of paperwork in the UK and in the private schools there, and there's a lot more to do. And that if anything, what they said to me is that teaching comes last. And they were all pretty sad about that. They were all like, well, that's why I left the UK. There's a bit less paperwork here and we get paid more, you know, so fair enough. But in the UK especially, it's like you're inundated with all this work, all this red tape and everything. And to actually be told, and that's what is passed down through the teachers at the different schools, is that, one of the teachers I was talking to, that's the first thing they were told, look, your teaching comes last. And it's like, but you're a teacher. Like, you need to be able to connect with these students and do this, but they can't because they're inundated with all this paperwork and all of this, which, I mean, you have to really ask, is it actually all really relevant? And I asked one teacher that, and his opinion was no, it's not. There are other schools, I forget where it is, I don't know if it's Norway, Switzerland, but that they have teachers there and they have no paperwork like that. They have no homework as well. And they seem to, their students are doing fantastic, and they're doing sort of what I was saying about the Elon Musk sort of way, creating projects like that. But then we go on the other end of the spectrum. When I was out in Fresno State, there was a lot of Korean students, and they spent like 10, 12-hour days at school, and they had homework. So there's two sides, but they both had really good results. But there's one end of the spectrum and there's the other. So when they were at university, the Koreans, like they had hardly any work to do. They just had their classes, which took up a few hours of the day. They'd study and they'd be done. They were literally looking around for things to do because they'd never had so much time before to do things. So that's probably shows you there that maybe that's not the best way, because they've got all this free time now, whereas they would have just spent all day studying inside, sat down, not doing much activity. So two ends of the spectrum there. And it's what ultimately led me to, no, I don't want to do teaching. I've got my degree in coaching. I want to come back here and I want to be doing a master's in coaching and make this my profession from now on. So I'm happy I've gone and I've taken the opportunities that I've done, because if I didn't, and maybe I started off here coaching and then went, oh, well, I'll go to teaching, I would just ended up of coming straight back to this, to be honest. There's opportunities to coach out there, which I don't deny at all. They're all over the world, which I will look into, and I am always looking into. But I know firmly now that coaching is definitely the route that I am definitely destined to pursue. So on to my final point of that, which links into everything with the dualism to relativism. I found something that is on the lines of that, is that Elon Musk has created his own school. Now, I think there's only 20 kids with it, and I think it costs something crazy like $7,000 or something a week, which is crazy. But the actual way that he set it up is something that I think is very good, and things that I've sort of explored, or it makes sense to me. And we talked about it in the lecture. We had a picture of a classroom and we had a picture of a sandpit, and we were like, who is learning the most? And it's impossible to tell really, but then from what point of view I gave, I was like, well, I actually think, you know, as much as people might say it's crazy that you have to be sat down, you have to be told this, but the sandpit, you're learning all different types of things, you know, learning through play. And you know, you're not just playing with sand, you're learning about how to hold it. It's slipping through your fingers, so it's very small, and how to make a sandcastle and what adds into that. So there's, you know, there's a few things, you know, constructing things and creativity involved, and that's essentially what's in Elon Musk's school, is that there's no grades, and how they do it is a sort of project type thing, and they won't focus on any subject they don't want to. They will pick their own subject. So already you're giving them ownership over their own learning, which was incredible. And so they'll have a project. So I'll just put it to a car. So say they were looking at doing something, you know, studying motion. So you can use a car for that. And it's like, well, we're going to build the car, and so what do we need first? And it's like, well, we need this. So the teacher's acting like a mentor. And so, okay, so we need to put the wheels on here. So we should use something like this, because this tool seems to fit. Do you want to try that? Does this one? But then there's this one as well. So there is some teaching going on, but it's more based on their interaction with it and their own ideas, and them just exploring it, rather than just going, this is a spanner, you use this for this type of bolt, this type of bolt, and this type of bolt. And that's it, and you use it when this, and then like an instruction type manual type way, you're instead just going, oh, we'll just have a play and see what fits, see what works, which I thought was really good, because impression of school, and I've revisited it over the last few years of leaving university. I've just got more and more in my way of that it was almost a complete waste of time. I didn't get much out of it, and struggled through it. It just wasn't for me. As I've explained in my portfolio a lot, it just wasn't for me, and I didn't ever feel stupid, but if anything, that system did make me feel stupid, or the tests did. I'm looking down on the paper and it's with D's, E's and F's and a couple of C's, and I'm like, I thought I was smarter than this, but I'm obviously not. And then you're starting to doubt yourself. So yeah, I always felt better than that. I didn't feel that I was like that. I mean, I went through college and then university, which I absolutely loved, and I really came into my own then, and I felt like this is, we're just answering the question, whereas school, it just felt like you were they always said pad things out, write more, Zach, and I was like, yeah, but why? I've just answered the question. Why do I need to add more to an answer that I've just answered? But that's what we had. Me and Cliff talked a little bit about it as well. You're not given much choice, and basically what I've just said then. But I thought that was interesting to hear from his perspective and things like that. That it's not just me thinking that about the schools, and you've got Elon Musk. He's created his own, and I'm sure they're going to benefit massively from that. And I sort of wish that I'd come up in that, to be honest.